The other example, of course, is I was just thinking about this today. I have a friend who is wealthy and who lives in an eastern state and is a big contributor to political contributor. So I was able to meet not with a senatorial aide, but with the senator himself. We walked into his office a year or two ago to talk to him about this issue, and we laid out a lot of information about the occupation, about Palestine, about how American dollars are not being wisely spent if we really want peace, because it's prolonging the root cause of the conflict, and we really need to change the policy of Israel, and tougher with Israel, etc. And we're funding occupation. And we laid it all out, and we talked. And I finally realized we were doing too much talking, and I looked at him, and this is a guy who's Democrat, who's supposed to be liberal. And I said, what do you think? He said, well, here's the way I see it. The Palestinians are people who strap explosives to their chests and go and they blow up, other people. That's their way of dealing with things. Even though I understand that they may have a cause. And the way I see it, Israel, basically, they're Democrats like us. They're democratic people like us, meaning these are white people. And they're our guys. And I realized that it hadn't gone in. Now, I really believe he believes this, but also he needs to believe this, and he wants to believe this because the way it's wired, we have $3 billion going every year to Israel. AIPAC has a very, very easy job because that's all military armaments money. And those companies make sure that they have jobs in almost every district in every state. And as long as the money keeps flowing, people stay in power. So, I don't believe that we do lobbying, we work on Capitol Hill, but I don't believe that it's really worth very much. I believe that the change will come from the grassroots. I believe the politics is stale. And if we're going to change anything, it needs to be part of a grassroots movement that delegitimizes what's happening in the region today. And that is going to happen in spite of the economic and political forces that keep things going the way they're going. Let me just take another minute to take a couple of points and then we'll open it up. People talk about, one stater or a two-stater. I think that talking about one state and two states is basically a non-issue and a red herring at this point. I believe we have one state. I believe we've had it for a while. It's a single apartheid state. It meets the criteria easily. If somehow they're able to push through some kind of, quote, peace agreement or settlement, and I've been saying this for a year, I fear the two-state solution. Because I know in my bones that a two-state solution will be a legitimization of the facts on the ground as they exist today. You can put up a Palestinian flag, you can establish a Palestinian currency, you can have a Palestinian legislature. It's a vassal state. It's one state by another name. Israel has military, economic, and political control over the whole territory. It's a done deal. In 2006, when I saw it for the first time, I walked through the West Bank. I said, this is over, this is done. These are not settlements, these are cities. And Oslo, if you study it, the Oslo Agreement of 1992 was a blueprint for apartheid. Area A, which are the Palestinian areas of settlement, those are the Bantustanis. Area C are the areas that are earmarked for frank annexation by Israel, become part of Israel. And Area B were the rural areas where Israel had military control. It's mostly farmers in small towns, and life would be made so difficult that as many as possible of the indigenous people would end up in the Area A urban areas of concentration. The rest would emigrate if they could, and the rest would figure out what to do with it. So it was really a blueprint for that. It was all set back in 92. It's a done deal. So I believe that what we're looking at now is not a political resolution based on population transfer and moving borders around, but probably hunkering down for a long, maybe it won't be so long, but hunkering down for a process whereby over time, the existing situation, which is illegal, anachronistic, and unstable, situation will be corrected. I don't know how it will happen. Anybody who predicts to you how it's going to unfold is a fool. I don't know how it's going to happen. I think it will be violent. I think it will be bad. But the situation is unstable, and it can't stand. So, we are present at the beginning of a global movement to delegitimize the current political situation. Now, it sounds a little bit like he's saying, wait a minute, you mean you want to destroy Israel? I said, no, I want to delegitimize the current political situation. It's unstable, it's wrong, it can't last. Well, but how about the Jewish people? How about the whole Zionist idea? Don't Jews need this? First of all, I feel like, you know, the idea, it probably seemed like a good idea at the end of the 19th century.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not a good idea. It's not workable. Zionism was a solution to 2,000 years of anti-Semitism, of bad stuff, okay? But this is not a solution. This doesn't, it can't work. What's going to come of that? I mean, I think ultimately the idea of a Jewish state is not sustainable and is self-limited. There is a wonderful culture, wonderful, vibrant culture that the Jewish settlers, the Yishuv, established over, you know, close to over 100 years' time, last 50 years' time, in historic Palestine. It deserves to survive, but it has to be part of the neighborhood. And gosh, you know, if the Palestinians, and there is such a thing, and the Jews could get together, there's no limit. It's a wonderful potential combination marriage. I think that, you know, when I still believed it was possible, what I used to say to people who were involved in negotiations, to the extent that I could talk to them, was, I don't care what you figure out, but get that wall torn down and open up the borders. Because then over time, the two cultures will intermingle, trust will be built up, there will be a de facto truth and reconciliation process, and things could potentially work out. And people will start to let go of the idea, well, we have to have a Jewish majority, we have to have a Jewish state. I don't believe it's true.